We had a name for a political party. It was something about I don't remember the name. But anyway, the idea was to simply have a very data-driven approach to whatever kind of decision you had to make. So then let people to simply provide their own ideas about, this is the reason I think we should have this kind of tax rate in whatever. And you had a really kind of, data-driven approach for it. But I haven't really seen any kind of party that do that.
Exactly.
And that's kind of strange.
It is strange. And you need to package it in a nice way, right? It has to be in your narrative. It's much more storytelling and vision where you should use that data. So I think many reasons sometimes where data-driven culture doesn't work is that people just talk about the data as is, and then people don't follow that.
But let's just reframe. Basically, the starting point here. How can we not have more objective data as part of the political debate? If we circle back to that core idea and those examples. So what's the starting point here, as you see it?
I don't know exactly why we cannot, right? So just thinking about how it works, if I understand it correctly now, the political parties, they go and request the data from a support organization that they have access to. And this organization helps them to provide data points and analysis for them, for that party, for I don't know, ad hoc questions, I presume. And then these parties, they use the same agency to provide these data points. And then they go to the debates, public debates that we watch on TV. And then they use these, each party use their own versions of that truth, of the responses they got from the requests from the same agency. And then they use that to throw different versions of the truth against each other's. Which is unfortunate, right? Because we all know that's how you just slice and dice the numbers until you get the numbers that support your narrative. Which is not how you should make
and lies.
Yeah, it's not how you should.
Lies, damn lies, statistics.
But we know it works like this, right? This is also how organizations work. This is the natural way of making decisions for yourself. If you just you want to find data that supports your own thesis, right? And then you try to find those numbers, and then you love it, and then everything else that doesn't support your thesis, you don't want to see.
And you hear it here first on AI After Work. This is the call out for the 2022 election. Are we really going to fall for this one more time, or can we do something else? So there are some very simple examples. You highlighted them.
Yeah.
What simple stuff that would make a more objective use of data. If you elaborate.
Yeah, exactly. So when listening to these debates, I mean, if someone could just help the viewer to understand some of the common ground of the facts before the parties are discussing a topic. For example, the most simplistic one is to just show what is the budget allocation for each different party, because then you understand much more where are the differences, and if one party talks about one initiative, you need to understand how is it funded, what have they redacted from somewhere else. And if you don't understand that, then it's impossible to understand what's the consequences of
money talks in some way.
And just showing that table, the overview. So when some party is talking about one initiative part of the budget, show them how that differs from the others. Show that allocation split. It's very simple.
I think this is a brilliant, simple idea, and I just get frustrated when I realize why aren't we looking at those simple budget allocation numbers every election? Because when you get into the single narrative of one question, the political acumen, the way they can carry themselves, they will talk up whatever they are doing to sound huge and beautiful.
Yes.
But when you put them hardcore next to each other, show me the money. How much money are you actually spending on the school?
Yes.
How much money
are you taking it from?
And where do you take it from? It's a very simple, basic data visualization that would basically give that's really what they're spending my money on. Why don't we know this? Of course, it's all out in the open because they all put the budget proposition and the other guys do the same.
But I think it's just that we're not used to that data-driven mindset of making a decision to like, wait, I need to really make up my mind here. I need to understand the full objective, like truth here.
You put me down a rabbit hole. I'm going to go out and look at these visual. I'm going to get these.
But think about the more complex questions, data about crime, about immigration, about all those kind of things that the parties are just throwing at each other. It's impossible for the viewer to understand what's the right part.
And not only for the viewers, I would argue. I think it's super hard for politicians to make an informed decision as well about how to allocate the budget as well. That's why I really, I wrote about this paper that came from actually Salesforce and also Stanford and others that try to simulate how to set the proper tax rate in balance to equality. If you have, too high or too low tax rate, that will have some kind of effect on the society. And if you argue for too high equality, that will also have some effect on productivity, for example, on the society. And then they simply try to simulate that. They had some very simplistic, ways to model the world.
But it's an optimization.
But at least they could make some kind of simulation that they see what happens if you increase the tax rate or not. And you can see the effects on equality and productivity from that. And at least then you have like an AI or data-driven approach to try to, it's not perfect, but at least they're trying to.
But it's a mindset, right? You want to understand the complete consequences, and then you try to find data. And you should also be fine that even if you don't have the exact data, just by visualizing what you know and what you don't know, and then I form a thesis on, we believe this, so we do this because we believe that.
Yeah.
But bottom line, isn't this all about data literacy or data maturity in different industries? And if you look at politics as an operating business or whatever, like the way we do politics, and then you can go and look at the debates in England. They look the same since the 1800s, right? And
we should have.
We should be able to do better, right?
Yes.
We should be able to. We are demanding more from our businesses. We are starting to demand more from our public sector, but the whole political, beast, the whole machinery is fairly analog.
Yeah, totally. But it's natural, right? Every industry is converging into becoming more data-driven, industry by industry. So I think politics is somewhere down the line next.
But what will be the tipping point? Because typically in business and corporates, to really change and really get on the journey, there has been a huge compelling event. There's something happened. We're going to die. We're going to get disrupted by the tech giants. Something is happening that gets people to wake up. What needs to happen for this industry, the political industry, to wake up to become data-driven?
That's interesting. When looking at other industries, how this data transformation has happened, it has started with the ability to look at data, to collect data, that we have data to work with.
But this is this is in some way, it's there.
Yeah,
I argue.
Yeah, it's a lot of data is there, but maybe there is a tipping point where when there is more and more data being available for us together as a society, maybe it will come to a tipping point where there is just so much, so someone will actually do this and put this together and put these graphs into the debate, and that will get viral, and maybe that will be like the transformative
so we have an abundance of data, but we have a scarcity of insights in that data. So how do we go to abundance in insights? So that's also the literacy translation point, that you need to have the literacy to start asking the right question, and then the literacy to what's the data points and analytical models behind those data.
Perhaps it can be a simple thing, as we have more and more automated fact checkers these days. Imagine having a live debate and someone makes a statement, and you have in seconds kind of latency a red light saying this is wrong.
But that's I like it. But it's a reactive thing, right? I think we need to change how the debate is constructed. Thinking about organizations, how they should work with data. You can't just take what you did before and then start to say like this is wrong and this is right. You should establish a common ground first, and then you look at that common framework of data and how things are looking, and then you debate on that.
But the key problem is, of course, the political parties don't want that, because it doesn't help the narrative.
Exactly.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But if some media does that, at least it would force people to avoid saying obvious wrong statements. So it could potentially at least help.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think when we get enough data, and maybe we are at that point, someone will take a look at that, actually put it all together and create like a common ground for like, this is the metrics framework for society using data, and then invite people to maybe a podcast like this from different
But it's interesting.
Political parties.
I would argue that this is in fact already happening, but not in the sort of major media. It's where you find on LinkedIn. So if you go in LinkedIn, you will find these sort of on stats of someone pulled something data together to really show how it really works. And you've seen all these simple animations like how many car sales and how Tesla took over. And so people are doing this, but a little bit like out of frustration, individuals are doing this and making it go viral.
But none of them are doing it in a holistic way, right?
No.
So they're picking something and they find some kind of fact on that specific point, and then something that supports their own view, and then they push that out.
Yeah, and my argument would be more that we are doing this as individuals frustrated rather than this being a macro movement, so to speak, where the public media, the big media is sort of picking up on data-driven. I think this is a huge opportunity. The media house that will have the best type of data like this, or maybe even have it before the debate or something like that, I think that would draw... It would draw in me. It would sell me on listening to their...
They should create a show where they establish some kind of metrics framework together with the parties, and then they have time before to understand that, so they come into the debate on a common ground, and then the debate.
We should pitch this to SVT, right? They have these public debates. Why don't you do this format? You will kill it. You will get all the viewers.
I like that we end on a positive note. That there is a future where we will have objective political discussions happening soon.